So what made you want to do The
Yes.
Masked Singer?
It was maybe the fact that every single year since the show has begun, somebody has guessed Corey Feldman. And I've always kind of thought it was funny, but I had no idea what they were talking about because every season a new season would start, and I would start getting texts, I would start getting tweets, I would start getting, stuff popping up in my Google News about, Corey Feldman was guest last night again on the show. And I'm like, what is this show with these ridiculous costumes? And like, what is this thing? And people would say, are you the alien, or are you the lion, or are you the lizard, or whatever? And I'm always getting these weird random calls. So I was just like, what is this show? But I'd never seen it. So I'd heard about it a lot. I think it kind of became par for the course where I was expecting to hear from season to season what they thought I was this time. So when we actually got the call to do the show, I was like, well, it's about time. Now I won't have to hear about it anymore. No, but I was like, yes, this makes sense, And not only that, but I have to say that I was also a bit honored that people were thinking of me in that light, because obviously, you know me first as an actor, and there's a lot of very, very talented singers and award-winning singers and stuff like that on that show. So I did take it as an honor that they were even thinking of me in the first place. And the fact that it's come full circle, and now here we are, and we've done the show, and it got a great response. And I think the most exciting part about that was, the reactions that I read last night, now that it's over, because I couldn't comment, I couldn't like
Yeah,
a comment, I couldn't retweet a comment. So you kind of want to just stay away from it all until
totally.
you do the reveal. But once I revealed it, I was able to go and look at all these things from the last few weeks. And it was amazing to see that people were really appreciating and loving me for my talent
Hmm.
and as a singer. They're like, he's got an incredible voice, or this character is like my favorite character ever, and like he's so funny and he's so great, and blah 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 blah. Who the hell is it? And that made me feel much warmer and fuzzier than a million people saying Corey Feldman sounds great, because you don't ever know if they're saying it to be nice. And there's also these really mean people that like to try to make you feel small by saying things like, oh, nobody really likes your voice, and people are just, coming to laugh at you, or they're just being, ironic or whatever. You see these terrible things written. And, as an artist, of course, we're all very sensitive. So we take some of that stuff personally. So when you get to see people talking nicely about you because they don't know it's you, it really changes your perspective on things. So it was humbling yet eye-opening all at the same time. And I think that was the most rewarding thing about this.
That's wonderful. And you were in a kind of sweet and cuddly character. You got a little like playful and naughty too, but it
Right,
was even
exactly.
funnier coming out of that seal costume because the seal was so like sweet and cute.
Right, which is kind of why I made that choice to be
Mhm.
the perverse little naughty seal that I was. But of course, they were lending to it so welcomingly with the little nods to Jenny and her
Mhm.
exploits, and Rita thinking that I was her husband and immediately feeling this attraction to a fuzzy, warm costume. I don't know, it was pretty funny. But there were a lot of things that just kind of lent themselves to the fact that everybody gravitated to this costume really quickly. And in fact, I remember when I first walked out, a lot of people said this is already a fan favorite, and more than likely, people are going to fall in love with this costume, and this is going to be like the most popular costume of the season. I was like, okay, I'll go with that. Whatever. As long as I can get through the performance and not choke to death or die from suffocation, I'll be just fine. So it is very constrictive, of course, being in
Yeah.
that giant head mask and trying to move around and dance. I mean, dancing and singing alone is hard. People don't
Hmm.
realize unless they do it that, to have the right wind, to be able to use your stomach muscles with the right inflections and the right movement, the right pressure on your diaphragm versus the other parts of your body where you're trying to compress the air and make it sound a certain way, and then move yourself at the same time. It's very hard to do for people who don't know how to do it, and that is one of the things that I've been very grateful to be able to accomplish through the years, is being able to do both. But
Yeah.
what you don't realize is how impossible that is when you've got a stocking over your head and you've got sweat dripping down into your mouth and
Yep.
into your eyes, and you can't wipe it away, and you can't scratch yourself, and you can, all these things that we're used to, are kind of taken away from us, and you're kind of left up there with nothing. So that said, getting through it the way we did and being able to actually come out on top, so to speak, was a wonderful experience. So
Yeah.
it was a challenge, but the challenge was met.
And Jenny and
Yeah,
Robin kind of guessed you early on. What can you tell
right.
us? Can you tell us more about that story with you and Jenny?
Oh, well, I don't think there's a whole lot more to tell. I mean, I think we kind of covered it on the show, but it was really nothing more than, we'd run into each other through the years. I always had a super crush on her. I don't know if that was exchanged on the other side of the token, but I do know that I was married at the time, so it wouldn't have made a difference, and she was married at the time, so it wouldn't have made a difference. But I figured, hey, we're having a little after party. Maybe you and your husband or whatever want to come and hang out and get to know each other a bit. And so instead she brought like this whole limo full of people, which was like George Maloof and Michael Andretti, these very powerful kind of players from Vegas and stuff, and shows up in this great limo with everybody. And so they hung out for I think like an hour. So it wasn't really anything too extraordinary. Just the fact that she rolls up with such a power team on her side, I think was probably the most memorable part about the evening.
Well, it's still a fun story and to see you guys kind of interact on stage. Who knew
Absolutely.
who knew about your performance? I know Masked Singer is very secretive. You can't tell anybody, but who did you tell
I didn't tell anyone.
at all?
No, no, I was very good about that. Yeah.
'Cause some people tell like one or two people really close to them and say, "Hey, don't say anything." But
No, no. I mean, I had my security with me on set,
mm,
so he knew he was there
yeah,
every day. And I do have roommates who knew that I was going to do a show, but they didn't know any of the details about
mm,
it, or because my roommates are actually in my band.
yeah,
And then I have my son, and my son knew that I was doing the show, but he didn't know what character I was going to play
hmm.
or what songs I was going to sing or anything like that. So even those completely closest to me, I didn't really let in on any of the finite details, so they would be able to watch the show without, kind of ruining the fun of trying to figure it out.
What were their reactions after watching?
I don't know because I haven't been around any of them. I was actually alone last night when I watched the show, sadly. So I watched it by myself, and then I had to go to an event right afterwards. And
Mm,
the security guy who was at the show with me happened to be the same guy that worked with me last night when I went to the event. So we talked about it, but that's about it. Yeah, so I haven't really gotten a family perspective yet,
hmm.
but everybody that had seen it up until then, and from friends and people that have been texting me and tweeting me and whatever all day today, everybody's loved it. Everybody had a great time, and I guess people are very proud of me for pulling it off and getting as far as I did on the competition. So
Yeah.
there you go.